In with Coach Sumrall, who will give us some opening remarks, and after that we will take questions from both Coach Sumrall and the student athletes. Coach, all yours.
I'd like to start by thanking Commissioner Keith Gill and his staff for everything that they do in support of our conference and our teams. I think this first off is a first-class event that we have here, and then you look at how Keith and his staff navigated conference realignment and helped bolster the Sun Belt Conference and position us to be stronger than ever, better than ever. I think you have to give a lot of credit to them and what they did through the changing landscape that we're all in right now in college athletics. So grateful for all that they do to support our programs and our student athletes. Would also like to thank the media that's here in attendance today. Thank you for what you do, and maybe the media that's covering at large as well. You guys do a phenomenal job covering our sport and also covering the young men that are student athletes in our programs and telling their stories, sharing their accomplishments, and highlighting their successes. And we are very grateful for all that you do in that regard. We do not take that lightly. And y'all have a pivotal role in drawing attention to the young men that play this great game that we get to coach. Would like to acknowledge how grateful I am for Troy University's administration. I believe that to be successful in any area of life, you have to have great alignment. I am very fortunate and privileged to work at a university where we've got outstanding leadership. Dr. Jack Hawkins is our chancellor. He is I think a model for college leadership at the university level. I don't know that it gets any better than Dr. Hawkins. Been at Troy for over 30 years and leads exceptionally well in all areas and has a great passion for athletics and football, and I'm very grateful for that. Also grateful for the support and partnership of our athletics director, Brent Jones. Brent does an exceptional job of providing our student athletes with the resources they need to give them opportunities for success. So grateful for the partnership with Brent and with Dr. Hawkins. I'm honored to stand before you as the head football coach at Troy University. I don't take my role or my responsibility lightly. I'm very privileged to be at a place that has great history, tradition, and success. Troy has won 21 conference championships in its history, 6 of them being Sun Belt Conference championships, 3 national titles. You look at the history at Troy football, and I'd put it up against anybody in the group of 5. Troy is a football place. We're a small town that's got a stadium that lets you know football matters, and facilities that let you know football matters, and a fan base that will remind you football matters. And so very grateful to be the head football coach at Troy and respect the traditions and success that we have had there. Was very privileged to be a part of some of that history, the most recent history that maybe was successful at Troy University between 2015 and 17. Our current program, I believe there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement around what is building within the walls and on the practice fields with our young men. Since getting hired in December and really being on the job full time, I got hired in December and then went and coached in our bowl game at the University of Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl and showed back up on campus at Troy full time January 4th. We have been hard at work of establishing the daily standards, the core values, and the culture of what we want our program to look like. The rhythms and the routines at which we're going to operate. And a credit to the young men in our program, they have bought in and fully bought in. I am grateful for what we have in our locker room and the makeup of our team. The first thing I was tasked with, though, to establish that culture and what we wanted our program to look like was hiring a coaching staff. And I feel strongly that we have hired an exceptional staff at Troy University. We're very, very fortunate to have attracted the men to come be a part of building this program with us, that we got to come join us. And I'm also really, really enthused with the locker room and the players that we had on our roster when I arrived at Troy. I think sometimes you walk into a new environment and a lot of people say, wait till Coach gets his guys, or wait till they get their recruiting class. So I got news for you. These are my guys. Like, these are my guys right here. The guys that are on our team, in our locker room, they're our guys whether I recruited them or not. And we all wear the same logo. We all fight for each other daily. We all care deeply about each other. I brought two young men. I'd like to highlight them. I'd love for you to ask them a whole lot more questions than you asked me. But I brought two young men that I think represent what our program's about in every area of life, not just on the field. 2 6-year seniors that are exercising a COVID year. 2 young men that I had the privilege of being a part of recruiting when I was an assistant at Troy. I got to be a part of both these guys' recruiting processes and see them come to Troy before I left when I was there last. So I'll introduce Carlton Marshall first. Carlton from Mobile, Alabama, went to McGill-Tulane High School. All right, Carlton, very unique story. Walked onto our program, only had Division II offers, only had a couple of FBS schools offering walk-on opportunities. I personally recruited Carlton. I went by McGill-Tulane probably as much as the NCAA rules would allow to make sure that Carlton knew I wanted him at Troy. And he was going to come play linebacker, which I was coaching at the time. I left and never really got to fully coach him. Very fortunate to come back and have the opportunity to coach him. When I got the job, my biggest recruit was Carlton Marshall, not some high school kid. So Carlton comes to Troy as a walk-on. He is currently 104 tackles away for setting the record for an FBS career in tackles. I think he's made every all-conference team, all-American team more times than I can count. I'm not able to count that high. Very successful. But just as importantly, I've got a 9-year-old son, Sam. Brent Jones, our athletics director, has got a 9-year-old son as well, Jackson. Carlton is very likely to show up at any of their sporting events and cheer for them louder than my kids cheer for them. So Carlton, a great representative of Troy football on and off the field. He has got a degree in broadcast journalism. A lot of times I messed it up and just say communications, but it's broadcast journalism. And very proud of what Carlton stands for and what he's about. Austin Stidham from Russellville, Alabama, the exact opposite end of the state, Northwest Alabama. Austin, 2-time all-conference player in our league. Also a 2-time academic All-American. I think that's only been done 5 times in football, all right, in the history of college football. So that's pretty special. So a very talented young man on the field, but also a very dedicated student in how he does things off the field as well. Austin already has his degree in biology. Was originally his plans were to go be in the medical field, I believe, as a physician assistant, where he probably would have had a very lucrative career. But has recently, I think, really reignited his passion for teaching and for the game of football, and his mindset currently seems like it's on maybe being a biology teacher and a football coach. So the next generation of football players in the state of Alabama will have a great resource in Austin if that's where he follows through with, but we'll have every door and avenue opened up to him because of his intelligence, but also his daily commitments and how he carries himself. So really honored to bring these 2 guys with me, 2 men of Troy who are outstanding representatives, and I think give you a really good picture of what our locker room and our team looks like at Troy University. So having said all that, that's my opening statement. I appreciate you holding on and listening, and we will open it up to questions. And like I said, I encourage you to ask them a lot of questions.
Before we take questions, I do want to introduce one more person since we do have new faces, new schools, new people here in the room. Adam Prendergast. Adam, raise your hand. He is the Sports Information Director at Troy. He will be your go-to person for anything about the Trojans. Right now, we'll take questions from Coach Sumrall and the student athletes. For those of you here in the room, if you have a question, I ask you to please raise your hand. I also ask you to please stand, if you would, so we can get you on camera. And wait for a microphone to come to you. If you would, please state your name and your media affiliation before you ask the question. And for those of you watching us on Zoom, please type in your questions on the chat, and we'll read them aloud. So questions in the room for Coach Sumrall and our student athletes, Austin Stidham on your left and Carlton Marshall on your right. Back here in the back.
Emmanuel Pepper Sunbelt Conference, and this is for Carlton. This is a team that obviously defensively prided itself last year, not only getting in the backfield, but getting those third down stops. With bringing so many guys back defensively, and obviously you being one of the leaders of that group, just kind of talk about it not only being the results, but kind of the mentality to get there and kind of the cohesion of this defense and what y'all pride yourselves on doing year in and year out.
You know, this defense, you know, I see a lot of upside to us in the future. You know, I see 11 guys on the field that want to get to the ball, and, you know, that's a recipe for greatness. You know, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm pretty sure Coach Sumrall is looking forward to coaching us this year.
Right up here in the front. Ellie and Emmanuel have our microphones, so if you do have a question, just please raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you.
Hi, I don't mean to double team on Carlton 2 in a row, but it was just a coincidence it worked out that way. Charlie Krause, Coach and Crew Show. I don't know if you're familiar with the website or not. PFF, you are the 12th highest rated returning linebacker. What are you doing either in the film room or in practices? And we've all seen you play and lay a lot of pops. What are you doing that's working so well?
Like Coach Sumrall said when I first got there, you know, film room, is definitely going to be your best friend. You know, getting in the film room, picking up those little keys that some O linemen give away, some of the little keys that the offensive linemen give away, as well as the entire offense, as well as the wide receivers. You know, little things like that will definitely let you know what's going on out there on the field. You know, reading your keys and coaches putting you in the right position to win. And I believe that's what's been happening.
Over here.
Coach, this question is for you. My name is Hunter Dawkins. I'm from the Gazebo Gazette, Gulf Coast, Mississippi Gulf Coast newspaper. Troy, from the history of looking at your back last 10 years, you guys have a really good history of recruiting among the junior colleges, specifically in Mississippi. Tell me about that, if that's a plan you guys are going to try to take in, especially now this conference has more regional rivalries.
Yeah, the Mississippi Junior College system has been very beneficial for our program over the years. When I was at Troy last, I was the assistant head coach, linebackers coach, and special teams coordinator. And I immediately, upon getting hired by Neil Brown, went and signed 3 linebackers from the Mississippi JUCO ranks. All 3 of those guys ended up being starters on teams that went 10-3 and 11-2 the next couple of years. So the Mississippi Junior College system has always been good to Troy University. I think it's good for the Sun Belt. There's such good quality players that come out of that league and also really good coaches. So we will continue to bolster and supplement our roster through junior college recruiting. We actually took more players from the junior college model this past year than we did in the transfer portal. So we're still currently using the junior college system to supplement our roster more so, really honestly, than the transfer portal.
Hi, Coach. Chris Hutchison over at KAIT in Arkansas. Just what are your thoughts on the Sun Belt West as a whole with you guys moving from the East Division to the West?
I think you've got a lot of really high-quality coaches that are elevating their programs. They're pushing the envelope to get better every day. I think the Sun Belt West is going to continue to rise and become more competitive. I think you get a lot of talk about the East, and the East teams have had a lot of success. But I think you look as a whole across the West, and I have a great deal of respect for every coach and every program on our side, and really look forward to watching those guys grow their programs and those teams. It's a lot of great venues, a lot of great schools with a lot of great players. And so I think it's going to be a really competitive year on our side. I think it's going to be continuing to elevate from a divisional standpoint as we move forward.
Coach, I have a question from one of our Zoom listeners, and this is for you and also for Austin and Carlton. The Sun Belt East got a lot of notoriety for as strong as it will be this year. Is the Sun Belt West getting a little ignored?
I think in anything you do, I mean, whether it be preseason rankings, player-wise, team-wise, divisionally, you either prove people right or you prove them wrong. We're going to have an opportunity on the field to prove the value of the Sun Belt West this season. And I'm not real concerned about predictions and prognosticators. I'm really more concerned about how the season looks at the end more so than the predictions. But you guys feel free to say something, but don't give bulletin board material here.
Couldn't agree more. I think the mentality of the Sun Belt and the way that we've progressed over the years, the honor that we've earned, from winning these big time games, I think it's only going to help the conference as a whole. And we don't put a lot of faith into preseason rankings. You only know what you got when you get to the season and strap the pads on. But I think the Sun Belt in general is going to surprise a lot of people this year with how well we play football.
Well, yeah, they hit it right on. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's talent all over the Sun Belt. We're just looking forward to this year, and we're excited about it.
Austin, a question for you. Just talking about, obviously, going against such a great defense in practice every day. You talked about the competitiveness of the Sun Belt Conference. How well does that prepare you guys when you go into Saturdays, going up against a defense like that every day in practice? I'm
telling you, man, having guys like Carlton Marshall on the other side of the ball, it does nothing but breed competition, and it makes you better as a player for it. I think our offense is going to benefit greatly in the competition that we have against our defense every day. It only makes us better. So having guys like that are not only good football players, but they're good leaders. They're good team leaders. They kind of set the tone, and it makes us as an offense bring our best every single day and strive to get better every single day.
I have a Zoom question from Darian Carter of the Tuscaloosa News to Coach Sumrall. Coach, did anybody give you advice on how to handle being a head coach? And if so, who was it and what was it?
I think we're all a product of our experiences that we've had previously. Very fortunate to have served at Troy under Neil Brown, a dear friend of mine. And Neil, I rely on heavily. I'm not too afraid to ask for help if I'm unsure on something or want to seek advice. And so Neil's a very pivotal mentor in my career. And then Mark Stoops, who I had the privilege of working for the last 3 years. I believe it doesn't get much better in college football than Mark Stoops. You look at what he's done at Kentucky. The year before he got there, they went 2-10 and lost 40-7 to Vanderbilt at home. And all he's done the last 4 years is win 10 games twice in a season. So I think I've got two really quality mentors that are currently FBS sitting head coaches, both at the Power 5 level, that have done it the right way, and they're players first coaches, and I'm the same way. Everything we're going to do is going to be from a players first model. Last time I checked, if there weren't any players, there wouldn't be any football coaches. So everything we do is about these guys, and I learned that from Mark and from Neil, and I'm not afraid to ask for advice if I need some help.
And a follow-up question, and this is for Austin and Carlton. What are some things that Coach Sumrall has introduced that is different from Coach Lindsey?
I would like to say Coach Sumrall is bringing back, that culture that Troy's so known for these past few years. We've been, falling off. We definitely haven't had the years that we were supposed to have. But I feel like Coach Sumrall is really bringing back that the culture and the grit back to this team. So, I'm excited.
I think one of the highlights and one of the focuses of our team is not so much with the coaches. It's more so with the players. We've had, like Carlton said, a huge cultural shift within our locker room, and it's being led by, the internal leadership, guys like me, guys like Carlton, and I think that that's something that our program's been missing. It's not so much coach-related as it is internal locker room-related, and we're making strides every day to push the culture, keep the integrity high, keep the competition high, as we've already mentioned, and it's going to make us a very competitive football team come fall.
Any other questions from the floor? Oh, right up here.
Craig Stevenson from AL.com. This is for the players. You guys both grew up in SEC country. You opened with an SEC opponent, Ole Miss. Has that added a little fire to the off-season program, just kind of the pep and everything in the locker room and the workouts?
Yeah, I don't like it when guys say, "Oh, it's just another game," because it's not. It's not another game. This is an opportunity for us, not just to represent Troy University, but to represent our conference in a positive manner and show how competitive our conference is. We're going to be fired up for that game. We have this new passion in our locker room, as I've already mentioned. We have the mentality that has shifted, and we're going to be ready to go.
One more Zoom question from Josh Boutwell of the Troy Messenger. This is for Coach. Coach Popovich originally started coaching in the JUCO ranks in California, and you signed a number of JUCO linemen from California this offseason. How big has that connection been for bringing in JUCO linemen to build depth?
Yeah, referencing Cole Popovich, our offensive line coach, who does a really good job. We're going to start our recruiting model at home base first and go out from there. We're going to know every player in the state of Alabama first and foremost before we go anywhere else to recruit. And then regionally, the states that we're connected to, we're going to know really well. But like I mentioned earlier, the JUCO ranks probably, I think right now, there's been a really good fit for recruiting because the transfer portal has been so active and everybody's kind of looking there. I think there's some undervalued junior college players that maybe have more upside potential than people realize. And a couple of those young men were from California. One of the kids that we actually signed from a California junior college grew up in England. And so I'm not afraid to take a player from anywhere in the world if he's a good enough player to help Troy get better. And we're gonna recruit globally if we need to.
I have one more quick Zoom question, again from Darian Carter of the Tuscaloosa News for Coach and for the players. What would be a successful season for Troy this year?
I'll speak personally. I'm trying to have a successful day. All right. We'll look up at the end of every game and at the end of the season and see what the scoreboard says or what the record reflects. We've got goals within our program that our guys are going to know and our staff knows and that have been set for what we want to achieve and accomplish. That are really internal goals. There will be a lot of outside noise as the season goes. No one's going to put more pressure on themselves to be successful than us as an organization. And those goals we'll set in our locker room, but I'm not going to publicly state what our team goals are. We'll handle those within our team.
I think just to piggyback off that, winning is obviously a very important goal. And it would be ignorant for any team to come up here and say that their main goal isn't to win and win a championship. But personally, for us as players, I would like to point out that, as we've stated, one of our main goals is to get Troy back to the place that it has a history of being. And that starts with us, that starts with culture, that starts with leadership. So if you want to look at large-scale major goals, it comes down to us as players getting Troy University back to where it belongs.
Most definitely. Yep, that's all. You go.
Any other questions from the floor? Coach Austin, Carlton, we appreciate you being here. Good luck this season. Thank you for being here.
Thank y'all.
We will continue in just about 5 minutes from now.